To comment during the Frankly Speaking show, you first need to open the video that is being streamed live. Look for the chat box on the side or bottom of the video player. This is where you can type your message. Click inside the chat box and use your keyboard to type out what you want to say. You can type words, use emojis, or even ask questions. Once you've typed your message, press the Enter key on your keyboard or click the Send button. Your comment will then appear in the chat for everyone watching the live stream to see. If you want to send another comment, just type it in the chat box again and press Enter or Send. Your new comment will show up below your previous one.
Good day. This is the Frankly Speaking Jamaica Podcast, number 133. I'm Franklin McKnight. JTA conferences are a big deal on the Jamaican calendar and perhaps the most important part of the education cycle. In the annual conference in Trelawney last week, many issues were raised: salaries, teacher migration, relations between the JTA and the Ministry of Education, preparedness of schools, and the broader issue of the underfunding of education. Now, some of the issues were new or had new emphases, including an assertion by the new president, Dr. Mark Smith, that PEP and its three-year concept, that is grades 4, 5, and 6, grades from all of that concept, was leading to burnout in children. Dr. Smith also gave a thumb down on the ranking of schools. He doesn't want schools to be ranked. He doesn't understand the fascination with them. But for me, the most important issue that turned out was that discussion about elite schools and the others. You know, Dr. Smith wanted a more inclusive thing. He spoke about spots of performance, of brilliance in a sea of mediocrity. And you know, this was coming from the principal of an elite school. The new JTA president, Mark Smith, is principal of Munro College. We're going to welcome Dr. Smith, who will join us in a while. He's taken up with some other things and he might be a little bit late, he told us. With us today are our usual panelists: Desmond Richards, founder of Rebel Radio Jamaica, and Winnie Anderson-Brown, educator and AI, should I call her expert? No, they say there's no expert in AI, but she's a chatbot coach. Thank you for joining us today. Please share the podcast, and we are happy for you to subscribe to the podcast. It's easy. You know, we have decided after several requests from you, our viewers, to extend the podcast to 45 minutes. Also, we intend to pay more attention to your comments and highlight them during the program and after. In addition to adding the comments and questions to the comment section on the podcast, we welcome your texts at 876-503-9995. That's our WhatsApp number. That's 876-503-9995. So you can reach us there. Now, we're going to start with Desmond Richards until we get Dr. Smith coming in. Desmond is talking about distribution of spoils or distribution coming out of Hurricane Beryl. I don't know where you want to start, Desmond, but it's over to you.
Well, the issue of education the distribution of political spoils in Jamaica. That is one of the issues contributing to the lack of education, the lack of resources to provide education to Black Jamaicans. Yes, we have made some progress, but one of the big issues we have in Jamaica is how the politicians distribute political spoils. Now, for example, listeners and viewers will recall the Prime Minister telling the country that each member of parliament will be allocated $5 million to deal with post-burial issues. All right. Now, I discovered that the 5 million has been allocated. So all members of parliament got the 5 million. The Prime Minister also announced that an additional 4 million will be allocated. They are waiting on that 4 million. That has not been allocated as yet, but the 5 million.
Million was distributed.
Distributed. And when I check around in St. Elizabeth and some other divisions. You know, I have been spending some time talking to the councillors, because I told myself that one of the things that I am going to do, I am going to keep in contact with these councillors to find out how they are dealing with the issues affecting their divisions. Yes. And when I check in a few divisions, they said the councillors told me, and let me make it known, these are PNP councillors. They said they have not seen or heard of any benefit from that 5 million to their divisions. Now, the one councillor in St. Elizabeth told me that what he knows, that some JLP people have received vouchers for 20,000, 10,000, and 15,000. Now, this benefit is to assist victims of hurricane. JLP, PNP, no P at all. This is taxpayers' money, which is supposed to go towards assisting them. We know 5 million is not a lot of money, you know. It's not a lot of money. We know that. And based on the damage, especially in southern Jamaica, 5 million in a constituency, it is just a drop in the bucket, right? As a matter of fact, in some cases, it can hardly prepare food for the people who are devastated. But the point I'm making is that too much politics, and we are in political season now, right? Now is October, next week is September. We are in political season.
Now is August, Desmond. That's what you meant to say.
Yeah, yes, now is August. And we are in a political season in Jamaica. And what I find is that both parties are in political mode. And we have seen, and there's evidence that the taxpayers' money is being used along political lines.
But Desmond, I have an issue with the distribution of these funds through the members of parliament. I mean, any political party in the administration, why do we have to get these funds to go through MPs? Why is that necessary? We have a pretty decent, well-established social security system with social workers out there. We have a fair number of organizations which are on the ground. Why do we need to get the funds distributed through members of parliament?
Because it is a political decision.
Yes.
Why we have to keep carrying it on? That this party in power does it, and then the next one comes around, criticize it sometime. Why do we have to do that?
Because it is politicians making the decisions and they are making decisions to suit themselves, right? These spoils must be used to butter up their supporters to vote for them in the next poll.
Yes.
One of the things that you must never one of the things that you must never forget, that politics is all about power, Remember that. Power.
Yes, but Desmond, I'm saying we have had it going on like that for a long time. Why do we need to continue it?
Because politicians are always seeking for power, and they will not let go of that. They want to maintain and keep power.
Well, if I may, what I see, I agree with Desmond, because that is what, remember that they are like, for want of a better way to put it now, that's a father doling out the good to your good children, and you're making sure that you take care of them. So that is what happens. So, or like in my constituency now, where the MP and the councillor for the Moko division, they don't get along. So who
you're talking about North Central Clarendon, is that correct?
Yes, North Central Clarendon. Remember that I wasn't here, but I heard that the MP, I know that the MP and the councillor didn't get along, and the councillor was not expected to win because he crossed the floor because of the problem with the MP. So can you imagine? You think that councillor would get money from that MP to bolster himself in the position as councillor? Somebody else.
Why we have to carry it into the political realm at all?
Because that is where the money is. They are the ones who are in charge. They are the ones who have the power. So, and they will not, as Desmond was saying, they will not let go of that. They're the ones who decide that is how it is supposed to be. So you won't have enough outcry because they benefit from that. That is how they make sure that they get the votes. They show the people that they are good to them. They can provide things for them. So that is how the system works. And they won't change it. Who is going to change it? They won't change it because remember, they are the ones who decide how the money should be disbursed. We don't make that decision.
Desmond, you want to wrap up that point, and then we're going to hear a clip from Mr. Smith. He has not joined us yet. And if you wrap up that point, we'll hear.
The only thing I say is that as long as we maintain the system of governance that we have, this is what we are going to have. And I want to make an additional point. Now, have you observed, Franklin, listeners and viewers, that in the British Caribbean, all the countries in the British Caribbean, they maintain a similar political system? And this system was adopted from Britain. Now remember, everything that we have as far as politics and governance is concerned was adopted from Britain, And when you look across the Caribbean, what you see is a similar type of government. There are some differences in Guyana, but look at what. And one of the things that we want to, I want Franklin to join this, because one of the things that we have to discuss, that Franklin, the problems that we're having in Jamaica, I want my listeners and viewers to know that there are the similar problems in Barbados, Trinidad, Guyana, Bahamas. Yes. The crime, for example, the crime problem, Jamaica is leading. But the type of crimes that we're having in Jamaica, they are all over the Caribbean. And
we will get there at some point, Desmond.
Okay.
Thank you. Now, I'd like to make a few comments before and as we await Dr. Mark Smith, JTA president. Now, the mass shooting leading to the death of 8 people in Cherry Tree Lane near Four Pass, Clarendon must not just go away from our memory after such a short time. Contrast, the whole of Europe is shaken now by the killing of 3 people stabbed by a man in a small German town on Friday night. All of Europe is apparently convulsed by it. And we must not forget what happened in Cherry Tree Lane. Some of the noise has stopped, and some of the extreme calls for extreme measures, some of them have stopped. But what are we going to do about violence in Jamaica? Frankly speaking, Cherry Tree Lane was just a matter of greater numbers, of greater excess. How is the society to be changed to stop these young men we have from turning into brutes, from taking guns to shoot people as one might swat flies? Frankly speaking, the violence continues. This past week, a couple was shot and killed in a little known community in St. Elizabeth. It's a community I know a little bit of, Mountainside, from where my dear departed father came. Mountainside, small, lacking in excitement, near to Black River, one side, near to Lacovia. Nothing much goes on there. But one morning last week, gunmen, or a gunman, one is not sure, shot dead 35-year-old Sharon Calder and her common-law husband, Richard Foster. This was at 3:45 in the morning as they went out with their straw goods to market. You know a little bit about St. Elizabeth, you'll know straw has been a big thing down there for a long time. Straw goods. 2 shot dead. From all indication, the shooter had no issue with them. They had no issue themselves with anybody. But the shooters, we are told, had issues with a relative of theirs believed to be in scamming. Frankly speaking, the conveyor belt is still yielding young brutes who believe it's hip to shoot and kill people who have done them nothing. There's so much in the society that's creating them. And we are doing really nothing much about it. Desmond.
That's rude. Go ahead.
Well, and the following day after that Mountainside killing there was another shooting in Westmoreland. An elderly couple were shot up. The husband died, 75-year-old. But Franklin, one of the features of the current crime problem we are having now is that you will recall some years ago when you go to places like Mountainside, those places are quiet. You don't hear about killings in those areas. People die of natural causes. Right now, a feature of the crime problem is that it has spread all over Jamaica. When you go to the rural areas, they are just as deadly as the corporate area. I can tell you when I go to, once upon a time I used to find it refreshing to leave Kingston to go to my rural area, you know. But now I must tell you that I'm afraid. And I am talking about a very rural part in St. Ann, where there's no run. Up until now, that is where I was raised. No running water, and there's no running water there right now as we speak. Very rural. But the fact of the matter that the place has changed, right? You have taxis going up and down, you have electricity light there now, right? But what I'm saying, the killings, when you look at the killings all over Jamaica, there's no safe place in Jamaica. And the strategies, yes, there has been a reduction in the murder rate this year. But for the 23rd year, we are going to kill over 1,000 Jamaicans because as we speak, over 700 murders have been committed already. And we are now in August. So we are going to kill another 1,000 this year, right? The strategies are not working.
All right, Winnie.
I wanted to say that the idea of taking the lives of anyone you can catch is rooted in this society, in the belief and the saying that you can't catch Kwaku, you catch him short. It is deeply embedded in the society, and we need to look at that and deal with that. That's a belief. You can't catch Kwaku, you catch him short. So that is a belief. And our belief system drives our actions. And that is why values and attitudes are so important. That is why socialization is so important. We have to dig up that.
But we have small communities like Mountainside, like other communities, where scamming, its tentacles have reached into those communities, and it's causing a change in the behavior of young men, young men mainly, young women as well. And here's a couple. At 3:45, you're not idlers. You're going out to earn, having made the baskets and your other craft from straw. And you are just cut down like that. And the person who brought it to my attention, a friend, just said, just look at that and look where this is happening.
Anywhere.
So we have a society which, and Desmond, you said the policies have failed, but I tell you, I don't have a clue what we can do about it when it mentions attitudes and values, unless we have fundamental change in the way Jamaica is culturing its people, its young men, its young women.
Yes, it is socialization. The beliefs are important. If you believe it is okay, and you know what makes it worse, Franklin? The harsh, cold truth is that most Jamaicans don't see any just punishment for murder.
Most Jamaicans don't see any
just punishment for murder. Take it to the streets. Ask people when people commit murder and what happens to them afterwards. Shortly after they're out and up and about. So in a society where most people believe in capital punishment, those persons, when the justice system does not offer that, people say, "Inango so." So they take unto themselves to kill people. So when we have the murder rate, I think it's important to disaggregate the whole thing. Look at reprisals. Look at domestic violence. Break it down and don't just have this one number so that we get to see behind the curtains exactly what is going on.
No, it is broken down.
Arguing, sorry, Desmond, before you comment, Winnie, you are arguing that because the society, and it's clear, I mean, we have had polls and we have had empirical evidence by discussions that Jamaicans want the death penalty. You are saying that because that is not there and the society is not putting away people for a very long time or getting the death penalty implemented, you are saying people take the law into their own hands at all levels.
That's a part of the problem. People say, "Inango so." You come out and you walk up and down. And what is sad about the whole thing that I don't think we look at often enough is that the victims relatives help to support these people in prison because they pay taxes as well. And there are many people who are angry and hurt. Let me hasten to say, I don't believe in vigilante justice because there's no justice in that. I don't believe that people should go about and just kill because at will. I don't believe that. So I don't want it to be misconstrued. I'm saying when we're looking at what is fueling this, it's important to see that side of the problem as well.
Well, Desmond, your word on that before we move on, because we're going to go to Winnie on. Winnie had some issues to do with teachers, and we were still waiting on Mark Smith. I'm not sure we're going to get him again for today. I know Joshua is trying, but let's go. Desmond, your final word on that violence. You keep talking about the measures that are being used.
Yes, Winnie. The murders are broken down. Reprisal is one of the motives, top motives for killing, for some of the murders. Yes, you are right with that, reprisals, and you are also right with the fact that significant numbers of Jamaicans believe in the death penalty. Corporate, they believe in that. And the government, some members of the government might believe in that, but we have not executed corporal death penalty in Jamaica now for probably 3 or 4 decades.
Since 1988, last one.
Yeah.
Yes, you can work it out.
So I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't fully understand why we are not executing the death penalty, because it is still on the books. I don't know.
It really is, as people have said, the way the international community will respond, and Jamaica's reliance on aid and benefits from countries in particular which have turned their backs on the death penalty. The European countries in the main.
Okay.
Winnie, you're shaking
I was
your head
just about
no.
to say that there are states in U.S. with the death penalty. There are states in the United States. So every time they
they're not so concerned about the U.S. because the U.S. still has some states, as you have said.
Yes.
But in Europe in particular, Canada and so on as well, that's the main reason. And although a noted attorney recently stood up for it at one of the King's Councils, it's a significant. Even though a large majority, large numbers of people want it in Jamaica, I don't think you're going to ever. I remember Delroy Chuck saying that many years ago in a program I was. You're never going to see it again in Jamaica. All right, Winnie, you have some issues that you want. We have some comments that are coming in there, but we're going to take.
Well, maybe it's better to take the comments, seeing that the comments are about what passed.
Yes, all right.
And I'm going to do a new topic. Yeah.
I ask you to take up the comments in a while, and I'm going to remind our viewers that we have a number, the WhatsApp number, that you may also send your comments. But you go ahead, Winnie, after which we will go on to the segment.
Okay, so go on with the issue that I have. We pay attention to the reopening of school. We pay attention to the buildings being ready and the children being ready, buying books and all of that. There's an aspect that I want to call attention to. Being emotionally ready for school. And this, I'm appealing to the teachers this time. School should be a safe space for our children. And unfortunately, it is not. And it's the teachers that will have to provide this safe space. I am heartbroken at the issues that the children have to contend with. And some of them are really afraid because they don't want to be victimized. What am I talking about? I am going to do straight talking. And parents know what I'm talking about. Most people in Jamaica would know what I'm talking about, but we don't usually talk about these issues. One, when teachers verbally abuse children. What am I talking about? When you look at children and you say to a class, uno dons, uno nango make it in a life, that is abuse. That is emotional abuse. You're not supposed to talk to teachers like that, to students like that, or anyone like that. Parents are not supposed to talk to their own children like that. And a thorny issue is the issue of sexual abuse in the classroom.
Well, let's just take that first one that you mentioned, though, Winnie. Are people talking to students, children like that? Are teachers talking to children like that?
Yes, they are. And
saying, uno dons. I mean,
yes,
you know, when
yes.
I was
Just last week, I was talking to a child. The week just ended, so it's a few days ago, about 3 days ago. And I was talking to this little girl, a past student. And when this student told me, remember, that is not what the conversation was about. She was explaining something to me that the teacher had stopped teaching. And I said, why? What happened? And I was told that she came to class and told them, uno dons, uno nango make it in a life. And they were upset and they went to the principal and complained. And after they complained to the principal and the principal spoke to the teacher stopped teaching after that. She'd come to class, sit on her phone, sit close to the doorway, sit on her phone, and when time was up, she would leave. And that went on for quite some time. So I said, so why didn't you people report it? They had already reported it. And I am sure if a survey is done this evening, a number of children, a number of parents can tell you that they have had problems with teachers telling students all kinds of things. This is not new. It has been happening over time, and it is something that should be addressed. In this day and age, it's time for it to stop. Teachers are not supposed to be talking to students like that. It is not right. So while we prepare for school, it is important to make sure that the teachers prepare themselves emotionally for school. If you wouldn't want that person to teach your child, you wouldn't want anybody to talk to your child like that. Even if you talk to your child like that, it is wrong. So I want us to look at it as a society. And where you see it, where you hear it, it is time to stop it. And while we prepare for school, prepare yourself to make sure you're not emotionally abusing the children. It is wrong. So
it is wrong.
That is one thing. And another thing, which is more serious, it is a sexual abuse. The abuse of our boys in particular. And people know, they talk about it, but the boys are in jeopardy in some of these schools. And it is really a problem, and people need, those who know, they need to find.
We are waiting for you to explain, Winnie, because I don't know this.
What I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I'm talking about a situation where the principal is making sure that the boys are the ones that are targeted. For what? I call it abuse. It cannot be consensual.
I'm still struggling to get where you are, Winnie. I still don't understand.
I am talking about male teachers, male principals having anal intercourse with boys.
My God, and that hasn't come true?
Because who is going to bell the cat?
No, but any boy or any set, especially since in Jamaica, so many people are against homosexual relations and express it in such ways. If people know that, if teachers know that, male teachers in particular, they know that, they're going to expose it. They're going to expose it. They're going to start with some rumors around the place, maybe some unofficial ways of getting it. But I don't know that is true, Winnie. I don't know.
Well, you know what is
Franklin, obviously I don't know everything, but Desmond, you unlike my darkness, because I don't know about this.
Franklin,
yes,
you remember that teacher who was killed in that school in Hanover this year? You remember the principal kill a teacher?
Don't remember it so well. Vaguely, yes, I remember that there were some allegations about. I vaguely remember some allegations.
Yes, I think the principal was arrested for it. You know, I'm trying to remember the name of the school, but the teacher was gunned down on school compound. You don't remember?
No, but I will prepare it for. I promise you, and I promise all listeners that we'll prepare the information, but do the research and bring the information for next week. But go ahead, you were making a point. I know enough about defamation to steer clear of it.
One of the things that came out, you know, was that there was a homosexual affair. I
vaguely remember, Desmond. I'm going to have to go do the research, but even that, Winnie, even so, what Winnie is saying is that there is some amount, that this happens and that we're not knowing about it. And I'm saying if it happens and if it has been happening, we would know about it because the homosexual relations are not generally tolerated in this society.
That is what you think. That is what you think. That is what you think. So how it was brought to my attention, I was not shocked because I have been in the system long enough, and there are some things that are not brought to the fore. So it's a pity Mr. Smith, who is the principal of a boys' institution, he's not here. But I don't want to. Of course, I would not mention exactly where, but I know that this is not something that is as far-fetched. It is something that people talk about, but they don't report it. That's a different thing. Mm-hmm. They talk about it. They gossip about it. So these children, why I'm raising it, is that these children are victims. They need help. So how do you go about helping these children? Because the children, they are stigmatized if it is known. They are victimized if they share it. How do you help these children?
Remember also that most of these victims are poor boys.
Thank you.
And these homosexuals, what they do, remember, they take these boys under their care.
Yes.
And therefore, these boys are intimidated.
Yes.
And they will cover it up. Yes. Because they're afraid, and also they are being treated by the homosexual teacher.
Yes,
Wow.
it is sad.
Well,
So
schools are places where poor relations play out.
yes,
My pushback on this is that I would never start by saying, oh, these things would not happen. I just don't know how regular these situations are. That's the first thing. And secondly, how would we intervene? Who could intervene? I mean, we know that schools have deans of discipline now. We know that schools have guidance counselors, primary level, and so forth. I'm knocked over, Winnie, and as you say, I'm sorry that Mr. Smith is not here with us. If you're just joining us, when you're joining us late, we expected to have. He assured us he would be here, and then this afternoon we were told that he was involved in a graduation event or a school event. The new president of the JTA, Dr. Mark Smith. We're sorry that we weren't able to get him on this afternoon because we had raised some of these issues. We're raising some of these issues. We'd really love for him to have been here to respond to them. He raised some big issues at the conference, and these issues as well that Winnie has put on the table. I'm sure we're going to get to them. I'm going to promise you that we will go back and we'll come again and come next week. We're going to dedicate a part of the program, no matter what, to this issue. Winnie, I hope you can throw in some of the comments that have come in earlier, even at this stage. But I must say that I don't know how to respond because I don't know of this being an issue and a major issue. And if it is, it should be an issue if the practice is widespread. But let's just take the issues, Winnie, before we close out. Let's say the comments.
Yes, thanks. So Marva, let me read what Marva. Joshua, can you put that back? What Marva is saying. Marva Hewitt says, when you are correct, the children are not. The children are at really risk they are really at risk because they are vulnerable, and the ministry needs to do more to recognize these types of abuse in the school. That's one comment. Jean says, amen, Michelle, there are utterances of the past. Anyone doing so is way off. This is comment on comment. We have quite a few comments. Michelle Barnes says, it is sad when the educators are said to be preying on students when they are to provide care and protection for students. I find this disturbing, and so do I. And the more I interview children, the more I realize that we're in deep trouble because violence will continue. Barbara says emotional intelligence is so important in the teaching learning space. Michelle Barnes, we have many comments. Thank you so much, all those who are chiming in. Those utterances of the past, 21st century teachers don't utter those things anymore. That was why I was so shocked when I heard it, and I heard far more that I don't have time to go into. And Michelle Barnes, for teachers who are not emotionally ready to return to the classroom, what can be done to treat with this issue? I think it's not too late. They have staff meeting coming up. This is something that should be on the agenda of every staff meeting to make sure that teachers know that they should not emotionally abuse students. Winnie, what are the policies for sexual harassment in this school? I think it's the same for the general population, that sexual harassment is a no-no. And there's a comment from June Thompson. I suppose it's that case that you were talking about, Desmond. The response, not teacher, the bursar. So it's someone else on the compound that was involved in that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for running those, Winnie. Thank you for running those comments. We have a few other comments, and we are reminding you as we close out the show that you may still send your comments to our WhatsApp number. That's 503-9995. 503-9995. Thank you all for being with us for this podcast. Remember, the same link you used to watch live will take you to the recording later. I really want to apologize again because after we sent out the invitation, I got some questions for Dr. Mark Smith. And I'm sorry that we did not get in this week. We're going to come back to this issue next week. I want to take on that issue of the abuse. Please subscribe to the channel on behalf of Winnie Anderson Brown and Desmond Richards and technical operations by Joshua Black. I'm Franklin McKnight, thanking you. Until then.
I see how you turned sideways, Desmond.